Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to Vinny the Axe. Today I want to go over a new gear acquisition. This is the Paul Reed Smith Silver Sky. This is the USA edition. This is the John Mayer signature edition. This guitar came out a few years ago, I know, but this was one of the later ones with the maple board. And this is a 2023. I just bought it brand new. It's just been sitting old stock for a while. And I was interested in this color in the satin finish. Now, a couple things, like in pictures, this thing looks different in different lighting, so it's hard to kind of explain what this really looks like. I think it's called a sand color. It kind of looks like concrete in a way. It feels like a really smooth, like chalkboard. It's kind of really weird. It's hard to explain. This is a nitro finish. I believe the first couple of years it came out, or the first year, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, I believe they were a poly finish, and now they're doing them in a nitro. This is a really, really thin finish, so when you strum this guitar, it's really, really loud, you know, acoustically. Let me grab a pick here. It's really loud acoustically, but the whole guitar resonates all the way. You could feel it vibrating all the way through the guitar, which is a good sign. As soon as I took it out of the bag and strummed it, I'm like, okay, I think this is going to be good. And it is really good. It took me a little bit to get it set up. There was a couple issues with the Paul Reed Smith springs, and probably should do a whole video on it. Paul Reed Smith springs have like a little extra like bend in them, and when they seat in the block, they're in there. And I know some people are like, oh, springs are easy to change. Listen, I've been changing springs in tremolos for like 30 years and never had a problem until the Paul Reed Smith guitars, including the Santana one. They are wedged in there, and I've gone through forums to see people literally breaking the springs off with the little 90-degree angle stuck in the block because they're in there so tight. Now, apparently they're designed like that so they don't fall out of the tremolo while they're being used. I've never had a spring shoot out of a tremolo, but then again, I don't do crazy stuff, so I can't speak to that, but all I know is they are a really pain to get out. And I read a couple of forums. I tried pulling them out with long nose pliers, regular pliers, and I was afraid I was going to damage it. Somebody came up with the idea to get a flathead screwdriver under there and kind of like pry them out, which worked. It was a pain. But anyway, I wound up stabbing the guitar finish in the process. You probably heard me cursing like from wherever you live out loud. Brand new guitar, hardly even played it, I just strummed it, and I literally stabbed the side of the guitar when the screwdriver came loose, but should have my glasses on, whatever. It's a tiny mark. I flipped out. I told my wife on the phone, I'm like, oh my God, I just damaged a brand new guitar. She was just like, oh my God. And she got home and she's like, look, and she's like, where? I'm like, right there, there's a little mark. She's like, are you for real with that? I'm like, well, maybe I overreacted a bit about it. And I play relic guitars that look like they got dragged by a bus. It's just, I did it, so. Anywho, I wanted to do a 3-spring configuration instead of the 4 decked that this thing comes with standard. Apparently it's John's specs, whatever, I don't know. But I like 9-gauge strings on a 25.5 scale, which is what this is, and I decided to do my configuration and set it up fully floating with a nice cant forward so that I can do trem chatters on it and the like. I like it, you know, super floating. So anyway, so once I got that all dialed in, it plays great. I have to say, you know, when this came out, everybody thought this was an abomination, right? Especially having like a reverse Paul Reed Smith headstock on a strap body. I get it. I totally get it. I was even one of those ones that went like, whoa, what the hell am I looking at? But I've heard some demos of these pickups, and I'm like, wow, those things sound really damn good. Is it possible like the ones off the shelf just sound like that? And they do. They are amazing. They sound fantastic. They are not brittle, and it reminds me of like a set of Lawlers, really. Lawlers have a really, to my ears, Lawlers have, single coils have an amazing tone all the way across the spectrum, including the bridge pickup. They're not ice picky, and neither are these. These sound absolutely stellar, and I'm sold on this guitar, really. I mean, I know it doesn't look like much because of the satin finish, and I would venture to guess that this might not be the most popular color, I'm just going to say. But I have a feeling it's going to wear over time. It will relic on its own because the finish feels thin to me. But the guitar is very, very stable. The bridge works amazing. Probably one of the better 6-screw vintage tremolos out there that actually stay in tune. I do like the angle back headstock on a Strat kind of format, which is nice. No need for a string tree, and I think it adds to the tuning stability, especially if you're floating and using the tremolo with the strings going back and forth through the nut. But yeah, the birds are really nice. They're like mini birds, but they're black outlined on the maple fingerboard, because you don't see a skunk stripe on the back. Looks kind of cool. The only thing is, you know, when you fight with this block on the back, the block is painted, so it will show some wear and tear if you're kind of doing setups and changing and stuff. So I made a couple little marks, nothing crazy, but I went with a Sharpie marker and just darkened it back up because I'm OCD nuts like that. And I like that they don't have the back plate on there, and I used a lighter black spring in the center to add the right amount of tension for what I needed for my string gauge. And to be honest with you, it kind of goes cool with the block and the back plate. So, but it wasn't done deliberately like that, honestly. The tuners are cool. I don't know about the tuning machine head things. They feel like a weird polymer of some sorts, and there's no set screw in here. So I don't know if one of these gets damaged. What do you do? Do they sell a replacement piece that just slides on, or you buy the whole thing new? I don't know. Anyway, they feel robust, though. I mean, other than this plastic feel, they feel good. And they're locking tuners on the USA model. They just use the stainless steel, or I should say chrome, or whatever these are, lockers instead of the black ones on the headstock. Kind of adds to the vintage vibe. But I have to say, everything looks really, really nice. Everything works really good. The pots are nice. The switch is really cool. 5-way switch works great. The pickups sound awesome. I've done some adjustments up and down to try to get them mixed pretty decently. And I have to say, I'm really thrilled. This is 2 PRS guitars now that I've purchased that just are over the moon crazy about. I think this is great. So I have a feeling I'm going to have to offload a Strat. Obviously, one comes in, one's got to go out. I think I'm going to keep my K-line. I think my Nash is going to go. Even though I love the Lawlers in it, I just don't see the need to keep 2 3 single coil Strats. You know, my K-line's got a hum single kind of setup, so it's a little bit different than this guy. So I'm thinking this might be a keeper, but I say that with very little, confidence, because you know how I am. Stuff comes in, stuff goes out. But really, the guitar is great. Now, the 7 1/4 radius, people were poo-pooing this thing right out of the gate, saying you can't bend on it, you can't do this, can't do that. If you didn't tell me it was 7 1/4, I probably wouldn't have known. I would have thought it was a 9 1/4 or 9-inch-ish, 10-inch radius. It doesn't choke out, and it doesn't feel uncomfortable, and it's not, inhibiting my playing. Not that my playing's stellar, but it's not inhibiting my playing. And I don't notice a difference. So if you're on the fence about one of these because of what you've heard of the radius of the board, I wouldn't worry about it. Unless you're a super shredder guy and you need that 16-inch to 20-inch radius. Other than that, I mean, if you're used to playing 12, 10, and 9, the 7 is... Play for a few minutes, you'll get used to it, you'll acclimate, it's not a problem. The neck is really comfortable, it's not fat and it's not skinny, it's got a nice shape to it, and it doesn't fatigue the hand. So, I mean, it's hard to say a lot about a guitar, but I can tell you that the tremolo arm that slides in is great. I like it better than the one that threads in. To be honest with you, I could do chatters with this and it doesn't walk its way or work its way up like some other ones do that are pushed in. So, my hat's off to this. I think it works great, and they're really good about designing their bridges. The bridges stay in tune amazingly, and the jack input's kind of nice how they machine that to look kind of a little bit more futuristic, or like, I don't know, how would you say, like 50s era futuristic. It looks pretty cool, though, I have to say. The paint, whatever. I got a deal on this, so I'm not going to complain about the color. I wanted a satin guitar, and I have a satin guitar. I think the gloss looks a little bit more exquisite. This looks a little bit more like, I don't know, took it out to the shed and hit it with a spray can. But I have a feeling that over time it will shine in a lot of spots from friction of playing, and then it'll probably relic in a lot of spots too. It might actually look pretty cool. So yeah, really good guitar. I'm really impressed with this thing. I think the fret wires are really good. Now I heard that they upgraded the fret wires after a couple of years to a thicker fret wire. I'm not sure. I don't have an original one to compare. The fret wires are fine. You know, this was sitting around since 23, so, you know, probably in the bag in the case, like I said, it was new old stock, and the strings were the original strings. They were just oxidized to hell. They came right off immediately, and then I polished the frets because the frets were just oxidized as well. But other than that, the thing's running like a champ. So anyway, if you have any questions on this, hit me up in the comments field below. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button, bell icon, notification, all that. It tells the mystical forces of YouTube, the algorithm, whatever, to pump my channel out to other people so it gets some exposure. And I would really greatly appreciate it if you did that. I don't know all the ins and outs of how the algorithm works, but I know it likes and it likes subscribe buttons and bell icon things. So if you can do that, I would greatly appreciate it. And it also notifies you every time a new video comes up. So once again, thanks for stopping by and checking out Vinny the Axe. I appreciate you taking the time out to listen to my little rants here. And once again, take it easy.